going on, everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day, and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Okay, so I'm feeling a bit vindicated right now because when it comes to my own YouTube channel, there's certainly a lot of videos that are overly critical towards Niantic, and I try to be as constructive as possible because I'm extremely passionate about Pokemon Go and I want it to succeed. And I have to say, one of the things that I vehemently disagree with is toxic positivity. There's definitely a lot of players out there who are very positive towards Pokemon Go and Niantic and tend to ignore all of the issues or feel like they're not issues at all. And I think this is something that is incredibly harmful for Pokemon Go because if you do not address all of the different issues, then it's going to create long-term effects for the health of this game. So ultimately, I do feel like I'm always trying to be consistent when it comes to voicing negative opinions, mainly because I want to be as constructive as possible and see a lot of positive changes. And turns out that is exactly what ended up happening. Recently, I made a video talking about all of the different issues with the Gigantamax system, more in particular how difficult it is for the average player and how the rewards are not that substantial. And it turns out these are some of the things that Niantic was paying attention to when it comes to player feedback because they made adjustments to Gigantamax Battles in these two specific areas. Recently, Niantic support tweeted out on X.com, formerly known as Twitter, that they are going to be making adjustments to Gigantamax Battles for the upcoming release of Gigantamax Gengar. They stated, "Trainers, we are so grateful to see your excited response to the release of Gigantamax Pokemon. We have heard your feedback and will be making the following changes for the upcoming Gigantamax Gengar battles. Gigantamax Gengar Max battles will still be challenging, but we will be slightly reducing the difficulty compared to Gigantamax Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise Max battles. Defeating Gigantamax Gengar will reward participating trainers 25,000 Stardust each, and Gigantamax Gengar will be more easy to catch once you have defeated it in max battles." So yeah, I'm personally very much okay with all of this because when it comes to Gigantamax Pokemon encounters, I will say that they were extremely difficult, more overtuned than they needed to be. And considering that Niantic was taking all of the player feedback and actually did something with it, you have to give credit where credit is due. It's really good that they made these positive changes. Now, one thing that I know a lot of players tend to say whenever Niantic does actually do something that players have been wanting is that people will suspect that that was their plan all along, that these sort of positive changes was always in the blueprint for whatever they are working on so that they could look more positively with the Pokemon Go community. And I tend to think that this is a bit of a stretch. I think it's Occam's razor. It's just the simplest explanation is that they released something, they saw that players were not happy about it, and they made adjustments accordingly. And I think that's just simply what's going on here. And honestly, I'm okay with that because when it comes to the Pokemon Go community, they tend to be very vocal when it comes to these sort of things, and it's actually kind of rare that Niantic will actually do something about it. And I think that's something that does need to change when it comes to the culture of Niantic and Pokemon Go. Whenever players are giving feedback, that feedback needs to be highly valued. If Niantic tends to ignore feedback like they have been for the past several years, then players are just going to continue to get more and more frustrated, and that's going to lead to a lot of disgruntled players anytime Niantic releases something that should be exciting. Now, as someone who has a background in game development, I will recognize that it's not always going to be the case that the players are right when it comes to certain design decisions. But at the same time, if there is a problematic feature or a design decision that players are just not getting behind, then it's up to the developer to create different mechanics to actually get players interested in what they are trying to do. And when it came to Gigantamax Battles, this is something that I'm starting to see that Niantic is actually pulling off because I do think this was meant to be something really cool for Pokemon Go, and I'm actually really interested in what they're doing with Max Battles, but for a majority of Pokemon Go players, they're having a really hard time getting behind it. So I do think that when it came to this new feature, Niantic had to be really quick to make those adjustments, otherwise players would just simply neglect this feature, much like they've done in the past with stuff like Party Play and Routes, and I do think that for something like this to be successful, Niantic needed to react as quickly as possible, and it does look like that's exactly what they did. But I do think there's still a lot of issues with Pokemon Go that Niantic does need to address, at least in the coming days. I do think that for what it's worth, there has to be new adjustments to a lot of the features that are perceived as very broken or outdated in Pokemon Go. I'm talking about PvP specifically, as well as raid battles. These are two core mechanics within Pokemon Go that pretty much every single Pokemon Go player has dabbled with at least once or twice during their Pokemon Go journey. And if Niantic is not doing anything to improve these two aspects of the game, then a lot of players are just simply going to find this game very boring because there's not going to be any kind of end game content. Honestly, that's something I would really like to see in the year 2025. Instead of releasing new features, they put a heavy emphasis on revamping raids as well as PvP battles, because I do think that for the players who are giving all the feedback regarding these two aspects, that feedback needs to be heard. And I really do hope that for the coming months, that is something Niantic does actually start addressing. So yeah. In any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding this change down below. Are you happy that Niantic is going to be making Gigantamax Battles easier? Do you feel like this is going to draw some interest for this new mechanic? I really want to know what the Pokemon Go community is thinking, so definitely share your thoughts in the comments and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it and found this video to be helpful in some way, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the content of the channel, the absolute best way you could do so is, of course, joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, you get the benefit of being added to my Pokemon Go friends list. And I will give you priority for remote raids and the friendship system. So if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you can do so by following me on social media. I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. My handle is @Jinsula. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.